In this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about FP1 and FP2 in Spain, the implication of the new technical directive, who's driving some good lines and who's struggling with tyre life. If you're interested in what my thoughts are and the full day summary, definitely keep watching. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name's Martin. I'm a specialist technical coach and mentor for open formula drivers. Let's start this video with the impact of the new technical directive, because there's two things that I want to cover off with regards to it. So previously the front wings were allowed to flex up to a total deflection of 15 millimeters. That's now been tightened up a little bit, and they can only now deflect up to a total deflection of 10 millimeters. So a little bit of context, why were the teams doing this? Well, in the first instance, you want the wings to just back off a little bit down the straight so that you can get a little bit more straight line speed as well. And then under braking in the slow speed, get the wings to pop back up so that they generate their downforce and you can go through the corner. So it's more of an aero efficiency thing. Now, the second reason is because with these 2025 generation F1 cars, as the speed and downforce builds, the car has a tendency to go towards oversteer. So again, if you can just back off the front wing a little bit in the high speed, that just helps naturally balance out the car, just the way they work with the ground effect, their stiffness, their weight distribution, their height, and so on. Now, if I can just jump over to the whiteboard for a second, I'll show you how the balance of the cars naturally looks, and then you'll get an understanding as to why the teams would want to introduce flexi wings. Let's jump over to the whiteboard now. Okay, so this is the natural balance. So in the low speed, down this end, the cars tend towards understeer. Max Verstappen hates this end of the spectrum, completely hates it. That's why his favorite track is Spa, Belgium, because he likes to head more towards this way. In the high speed, the balance of the car shifts more towards oversteer. So by having the flexible front wing, they can tackle both of these issues in real time. They can wind the front wing on and counteract the understeer and the slow speed and really crank on the front wing, try to get that front downforce, and then have it back off in the high speed and try to tackle some of this oversteer as well. So I hope that makes sense, and that's one of the reasons why the teams do it. And the reason the FIA clamping down on this, I guess, is to try to bring the field closer together. So what's the implication of the change? Well, firstly, less efficiency. Obviously, the front wing's not going to be able to fold on itself as much. So they're going to be, the cars are naturally going to lose efficiency down the straight. But secondly, because of this balance that I just showed you, in the high speed, it might tend towards more oversteer because you're not going to back the front wing off as much in the high speed. So the front wing's still going to be active and available, generating more than usual downforce. So the teams are just going to have to recalibrate that in their setup. Now, one of the people that should struggle or could struggle with this technical directive was Lando Norris. We've seen up to this point how he doesn't like the front being so pointy. I'll share with you a few videos now, but there's examples in Jeddah, China, and Bahrain testing as well, where Lando turns into the corner and the back just steps out. And I think it's just got to do with how powerful the front end of that Mclaren is with the anti-dive and how much front grip it generates. And now that we've got this, in the high speed, the cars aren't going to fold their front wings back as much. Maybe this will affect Lando, maybe not this weekend, but just keep an eye out for that as the season unfolds. I'll show you guys a few videos now so you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is the first example in Jeddah. As Lando turns into turn one, the rear lets go again. So you'll see a few examples along the way of this, and he has to turn into that slide. Again, that's a high speed entry. The second example is here in China, turn one. High speed entry, again, snaps on entry. And if you can imagine that this front wing is already folded back a little bit on the entry here. Here's another example in the middle of the track, again at China. It's the same issue, again, the front just over rotating the rear. I'll show you guys one more example that we saw in Bahrain testing. This was down at turn 4, turns in, and again, it just looks like the car's just on ice. So I've particularly spotted this with Lando and not with Oscar. As it turns out in FP1 today, Lando was top of FP1, so all looks good. But again, just keep an eye out for this moving forward because, you know, F1's a technical sport. It can depend on many factors. Now let's talk about FP1. If you guys came to the live stream yesterday, you would have heard me talking about short corners versus tight lines in the ever important turn 12 in Barcelona. I'll bring it up on the whiteboard for you guys in a second, but essentially the short corner involves V'ing off the corner. So being fast in and fast out, having a very small condensed rotation point in the middle. And the tight line says, okay, we're just going to dive into the apex early, try to keep the minimum speeds afloat, try to keep the downforce afloat, and then just try to keep the car a little bit more stable through the corner. Both have their pros and cons. I think the short corner is a little bit more crude. I generally lean towards the tight line, at least I have lately. And this is something that you can only do in long corners of constant radius. You can't do a short corner into a chicane, for example. And I'll bring it up on the whiteboard now so that you guys are clear on what we're talking about. So I've just highlighted in red the turn 12 long corner of constant radius, and these are the two lines that we're talking about here. So in purple, you've got the tight line. So this just basically says, yeah, dive into the apex early, try to keep the minimum speed. You start turning in very early as well. And, you know, your corner is longer because this is your cornering zone, if you can imagine. That's considered a longer corner than the short corner. Now, the short corner says, well, we're not going to spend much time doing the rotation. We're going to get it done in one go. We're going to get it done quickly. We're going to get it done ugly. And we're going to extend the straight coming in. And then we're going to extend the straight coming out. And all of this should be full throttle time. And our cornering is just that rotation point in the middle. So if you highlight the cornering, this is the short corner because the cornering is done through that region. And this is the tight line, which is the longer corner. And the cornering is done through that region. As you can see, it's a bit of a hotter peak here, like more lock has to be done to rotate on the short corner. I'll just label that for you guys in green. But it was interesting to see in FP1, the differences in the driving styles. I'll bring up a few videos on the screen now, just so you guys can see and understand the difference. And just before I do, I always encourage my drivers at this point in FP1, just try both. Do 5 laps on the short corner, do 5 laps on the tight line, see which one you like better. And then, you know, we'll just refine that and chip away at it a little bit as the weekend unfolds. Again, it's that curiosity piece that I'm looking for. I'm looking for the drivers to be exploring. But if I have to put my money somewhere, I just prefer the tight line. I think you can be a little bit more consistent with it. And if I had to liken it to something, let's say in tennis, for example, this is the equivalent of a one-handed backhand versus a two-handed backhand. Like they're totally different techniques. There's pros and cons for both. I think more importantly, there's a time and a place for both as well. In tennis, you have to pick one and stick with one. You have to play with either a one-handed backhand or a two-handed, and really there's no changing. Whereas in our sport, you can say, all right, this corner I'm going to drive a tight line, and then a few corners or laps later, I'm going to switch over and drive a short corner, for example. We have that flexibility, and that's why I always encourage my drivers to be curious. Let's have a look at a video now of who was doing what. So the first call out just before we get underway was not many drivers were hitting the apex of this long corner constant radius at turn 12. So many missed apexes. And that's because the key in a long corner of constant radius is your front grip. You've got to be able to get into this corner. Now, a few corners before at turn 10, it's all about traction. You've got to get out of that slow speed, increasing radius corner. When downforce is not doing that much, it's not that significant. And then you got the long corner turn 12 where front grip is really important. So not many drivers met with the apex. Isaac Hadjar was one of them. He was driving the tight line. I'll show you guys now. This is Hadjar doing the tight line. So he pretty much dives straight in and meets with the apex very early. So there's no short corner, and he keeps the steering lock on, keeps the minimum speed and downforce active. And for me, it's a safer way through this corner. I think maybe in qualifying, there's opportunities to explore the short corner and find a little bit more lap time. Again, curiosity. At this stage, it's too hard to tell. You can see Isaac. Now, Franco Colapinto was next. Totally different technique. This is the short corner in action. So deeper, later, and then bang, one armful of steering lock, get the rotation done, and then just zoom out very quickly. Have a look at this in slow-mo. So he doesn't start to turn in, does not really interested in apex, but you see this one last late armful of lock there? That gives the car all the rotation it needs. He can just unwind and shoot out. Again, I like the way Franco did this. To be honest, he executed the short corner quite well. It's just I'm not sure at this stage what the limitations are of the short corner, how fast you can go. I think with these cars, there's something to be said for keeping the downforce active. This is Charles trying to do a tight line. His technique is generally tight line, but he picks up a bit of oversteer in the middle and on the exit as well. So the Ferrari just lacking rear grip, and it didn't have the front grip either to get him actually into the apex. So slightly wide of where he wants to be, then oversteer on the mid and entry as well. So the Ferrari looks garbage. This is Russell trying to do a tight line as well, but the difference is he picks up understeer in the middle. They can't actually meet the apex. So a lot of drivers struggling with a lot of different things. This is George trying to get to the apex early, but the car just won't go in. So he's got a bit of mid-corner understeer there. And he was on the radio complaining about his front left as well. Liam Lawson tried a short corner as well, but didn't quite make the apex. I'll show you guys now. So he's doing like what Franco was doing, deeper, later, and then bang one armful of lock, get the rotation done, but he didn't quite meet the apex towards the end there, as you guys can see here. Yeah, and that's what the short corner is. Just miss the first part, bend the car, and then zoom out of here with the steering wheel straighter for a harder, better exit. Now I want to show you guys on the telemetry between one tight line driver and one short corner driver. So that'll be Colapinto versus Hadjar. And I'll show you guys the difference in minimum speeds. That's all I probably want to call out at this point. Let's have a look at that on the telemetry now. So hopefully you can see that on the screen in front of you. We've got Hadjar's 16.5 and Colapinto's 17.4. Again, they're different tires, different fuel loads, different points in the session. I get it, but I just want to call out to you the difference between the short corner and the tight line in terms of technique. So it was Colapinto taking the short corner, which means the minimum speed drops out and you extend the straights coming in and out. So if we just hover over here in the middle, we'll get this line coming down the page, and that is where we're looking across here. And if I just zoom in for you guys so you can see the difference in the minimum speed, Hadjar is able to keep 124 kilometers of mid-corner speed, but Franco doing the short corner technique is doing 110. So it's worth about 12 kilometers of extra apex speed to Isaac Hadjar. Now, the difference is, though, that Franco can get on the throttle earlier and harder, but he doesn't actually make it to full throttle first. That's Isaac Hadjar's in white. So again, there's pros and cons for each. Now, if we just zoom out and see what the delta deficit was through here, Colapinto was behind, let's say, half a second going into this corner, and coming out of this corner, he got caned, 3 or 4 tenths out of that corner. So there is something to be said for keeping the minimum speeds active. Again, regs and cars and tires and track conditions, everything makes a difference. But this is really trying to highlight to you guys how the technique looks and what it looks like in terms of the minimum speeds and the pros and cons for both. Wanted to talk to you guys about Max's session as well in FP1. He continues to make changes to that Red Bull very early on this season. He's made some changes in Bahrain. He's made some changes in Jeddah. I'm trying to keep on top of what he changes. Unfortunately, we don't get to know. I wish the guys like Ted or someone in the pit lane could go in and find out exactly what it is. I suspect it was something to do with the roll bar. It was at the rear. Potentially Max is looking for a little more rotation in such a corner or a little more traction in another corner. I suspect it's roll bar, but I'm not sure. Could be springs, could be dampers, could be anything at the rear. If anyone knows what Max was changing in that FP1 session, please let me know in the comment section below. As we move into this weekend, again, I want to iterate to you guys, front grip will be key. Not only for your strategy and for your race, but just so that you can get through long corners like turn 4, that long, fast entry. It kind of goes decreasing, but then on the exit, it's increasing radius and traction. That's a front left tire killer. And then the one we spoke about on the whiteboard, turn 12, front grip through there is going to be a premium, and it's going to be worth a lot as well. So in order to look after the left front tire, I think the tight line serves that better. And then if you can just get more front grip and just make it so that it's on the nose in these corners, that's more helpful as well. That's going to help look after the front tires. Let's have a quick look at the FP1 results. The session was topped by Lando, so he seems to be struggling with everything that I said he could. But again, complicated sport. Keep an eye out for that moving forward. I'll be watching Lando's high-speed entries after this technical directive. This is a story that's going to run and run, guys. But good job by Lando with his confidence off the back of Monaco, cracking on and doing a good job. Ferrari seemed to be reasonably up there, like 3 tenths off for Hamilton and Verstappen. I think the early signs are that it's kind of closer at the top, but again, we need to wait and see at FP2. Big call out for me is the last sector, Liam Lawson. He has the purple 22.3. He was doing the short corner technique. So again, that's an early indication that maybe it's worth trying in FP2 a little bit more and showing that curiosity. Is it going to be the short corner or the tight line? I suspect though in qualifying on soft tires, you've got to also be this adaptable. You've got to also have a technique in qualifying. You've got to also maybe change that technique for the race as well. I do have a paper on my website, short corners versus tight lines. It's not cheap, but I encourage you guys to jump on and have a look at it. And if you can grab it, it'll tell you everything you need to know about those two different approaches in long corners of constant radius. Just as we glance the top speeds in FP1, again, this is the story that will run today as well. But generally, Mclaren have been struggling for top speed. They've been downforce, traction, front grip, tyre management, but not necessarily holding the top speed card. Here we've got Lando 326 and Oscar 328. That's better than like anyone around them, up to Hadjar and Sonoda in 8 and 9. So how does that work given this technical directive? I'm not sure, but it's a good sign for McLaren. Their top speed is better now than it was pre-technical directive. Just want to finish FP1 by having a quick look at some of the areas where Lando was finding lap time on Oscar. I can see it straight away. If we just click here, it's the turn 4 long corner of increasing radius. Lando just able to carry so much more speed into there. If we check out the minimum speeds, it's Lando at 163 and it's Oscar at 150. So Lando with another 13 Ks there, and he's just caning Oscar there. He's finding 3.5 tenths in that corner alone. Another jump in 7 and 8, and another jump again in turn 10. So just seems like Lando's got a bit of an edge on Oscar at the moment. FP2 session now, and I think we learned two things in this session. Number one, the impact of the technical directive. I learned a few more things, and Oscar Piastri topped the session, so he's been able to iterate and improve following on from FP1. I just wanted to show you guys his line through turn 12, and also I got a shot of Kimi Antonelli's line through turn 12 as well, both of them taking the tight line. So again, if you're not sure like which drivers to copy, obviously, copy the one who topped the session, right? I'll bring it up on the screen for you guys now. So this is Piastri, and he just kind of dives early into the corner, and he's already very close to the corner. And he manages to meet it later, but his intention is to get to the apex here, and he's only left about half a meter to go. So yeah, lovely technique, and obviously the McLaren with a lot of front grip. Antonelli, something very similar. Again, just leaves a meter or a meter and a half to the apex at the starting point. And then, he's into the corner at this point, right? It's very early on into the corner. Different to what we saw with Franco Colapinto and Liam Lawson, guys. Those guys doing the short corner approach. I think it's at this point where maybe they want to revisit that. After just what we've seen, like with Piastri and Antonelli, I don't know, like I say, it'd be something you want to just at least try tomorrow morning in FP3. If you're doing the short corner like a Lawson or a Colapinto, you want to switch across to a Piastri or an Antonelli. And if it's working for those guys, obviously I don't think they need to change it. But if you're at the back of the grid driving the tight line, maybe you want to try short corners as well. Again, at this stage, it's just got to be the curiosity piece. Now, another thing that I didn't see any of the drivers unfortunately try, and I was desperate, I wanted someone to try it, was the entry curbs and entry space available down at turn 1 and available down at turn 4 as well. We spoke about this in the live stream, and I said there's extra space available on the curb, generally pretty flat, generally offering good grip. You can potentially use that to sweep in and carry more speed into the likes of turn 1 and turn 4. I'll bring up a picture for you guys now. Kimi Antonelli is normally the one who would do such a thing, but this is down at turn 4, and Kimi's left front is only just on the curb as we're under the bridge here. Again, I think there's more opportunities for the drivers to use this extra space. Kimi can put his car another half a meter across to the left. And I think it does help out the front tires, and just you can go in with a little more speed and downforce. It just stops everything from sliding. Anyway, none of the drivers tried it really. And I was disappointed to see that because, again, right, it's the curiosity piece that I'm looking for, the driver's ability to explore the track. If I just jump over to the track map, I'll show you exactly where I'm talking about. and it's going to be the entry curb down here at turn 1. There's some space available on the entry down into turn 1 for you to be able to put half a car width across and sweep in with a little more speed. And similarly down at turn 4, that's the shot at Antonelli. There is a smaller curb on the entry to turn 10. Again, I'd like for the drivers to try this and brake on these curbs and see what sort of reaction they get. But unfortunately, none of them tried it, so I guess we'll never know. Now, Ollie Bearman's spin at turn 3 was a very interesting one because he's going through flat out turn 3 and he's understeered off at turn 3. Again, I'll go back to the whiteboard to show you guys. He's understeered at this point and got onto the dirty stuff and then oversteered and had a spin, ended up in the gravel thereafter. So the reason I say that it's interesting is because we were talking about this technical directive potentially pushing the cars more towards high speed oversteer. Didn't seem to be the case with Lando Norris having any balance issues. Didn't seem to be the case with Ollie Bearman fully flat through turn 3. In fact, he got understeer. The Ferrari seems to have some oversteer in some places. I think now at this point it's affecting different teams in different ways. Another thing that I might also add is this is not new for the teams. They would have known that in the high speed, the car would tend towards oversteer, and they would have made a bunch of changes, both mechanical and aerodynamic, to try to restore the balance that they had previously. So whilst we can sit here and say like maybe it's going to do this or that, and it would have done that, the teams may have already sorted that out. That's the first call out. The second call out is it will affect different teams in different ways as well. Doesn't seem to be affecting anyone too much at the moment. I see more or less the same story as before the technical directive. Your FP2 results are on the screen in front of you. Piastri was top with a 12.7. He topped all 3 sectors as well. So there goes Liam Lawson's sector. Interesting now, Lawson and Hadjar's sectors, Lawson doing the short corner, remember, and Hadjar doing the tight line, they're identical. So there you go. So, you know, that's Hadjar on the medium as well, guys. So I think now we're starting to see a picture with the short corner versus tight line. If I compare Colapinto, he was doing 22.4s. There's not many people worse off than him in the final sector. In fact, he has the slowest final sector on the grid. So I think if I was Franco at this point, I'd be trying at least giving the tight line a go. Other call-outs, Russell got up there. Verstappen, that's not a bad lap time given how much he was struggling. Hamilton was another big call-out. He was really like shaking his head, not happy with the performance of the car in this session. And just as I glance at the top speeds and we have a look as we did in FP1, McLaren's Piastri 331, Norris 330, Verstappen 336. Not sure whether that was a slipstream or not. 324 for Antonelli. So there seems to be quite a big variance in top speed as well, 326. So McLaren looks strong, but then you've got this outlier from Red Bull 336. Have a quick look at Sonoda's 327. So I think that was a slipstream from Verstappen. McLaren still seem to have the upper hand in terms of straight line speed. I'm going to do a quick message to Argentina and Colapinto fans in Spanish because I think Franco at this point now does need to clean up turn 12. So if you just bear with me for that and then we'll wrap up and take your thoughts, questions and comments. Hola a todos, ojalá que estés bien. Mira, en curva 12 yo creo que Franco necesita cambiar unas cosas específicas a la línea durante la curva. Franco estaba tomando curvas cortadas, entonces haciendo la rotación muy pequeña. Y mira, me voy a poner así que puedes ver. Franco está haciendo aquí curvas cortadas en curva 12. Entonces hay algunos pilotos que están haciendo, se llama tight line, línea más cerca de la media por aquí. Entonces creo que puedes tener más velocidad mínimo durante la curva y está mejor para el coche. Aquí es más, Franco está aquí, es más por la mojada. Entonces no me gusta. Franco necesita cambiar esta y cambiar la línea de las curvas. Lo siento mi español, en serio, no estoy seguro si estoy explicándolo muy bien, pero si tienes una pregunta, mándame un comentario y yo podría responderte allí. That's all for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you can, please leave me a comment on your way out. If you had a thought, question, or you learned something, give the video a thumbs up as well. All these things help me and help the channel move forward. And if you're new here, definitely subscribe to this channel moving forward for more driving secrets and tips this weekend. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.